it's time for our next bedtime stream. So before we can begin our book, we must get ready for bed. Alrighty. The steps of getting ready for bed. First, brushing teeth. This is my favorite step because teeth are fuzzy and nasty. And they need to be brushed. It just feels so good. Feels good to make them all smooth. Oh my gosh, so much better. Nice. Okay. Gotta put our dentures in. Haha. Ooh, that one's a little tight. That's how you know it's working. It's tight on the teeth. Brush our hair. Wait, that's not my hairbrushes. There it is. This one away. Alright. Wash our face. That's important. Almost forgot about that. You gotta take your thing. Get a thing ready. And rub it on your face. You gotta rub, vigorously, but not too hard, or your face will fall off. It's important to remember. Don't want your face falling off. Okay. Look at that. Dirty. Dirty. Alright, and now we gotta use the magic potions. Estee Lauder, Advanced Night Repair. This is why I look so young. I'm actually 85. But you wouldn't know it because I use this stuff. It's really amazing just how well it works. Tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll look too. But it doesn't last very long. By the end of the night I look back to whatever this look is. I don't know. You can be the judge. Some people say I look 12. Some people say I look 21. Some people think I'm 30. I know, 30? Some people are weird. But the joke's all on them because I'm actually 85, so. Pretty clear. Oh wait, you gotta do your neck. Otherwise, I'll wake up and my neck will be 85. That will be weird. Okay, so use that advanced stuff. Then you follow it with the Revitalizing Supreme Plus Global Anti-Aging. This helps people globally not to age. It's really quite kind. I'm helping myself not to age and the whole world. Hi, Tree 816. We sure are. I have to get ready for bed though before I can start my bedtime story. You can't read a bedtime story until you are ready for bed. That's the rule. Okay. So I'm almost ready for bed. There's one more thing I have to do, but you can't join me because it's illegal, which I need to change in my pajamas. So I've arranged for you guys to have a babysitter while I get changed. Please behave for your babysitters, okay? Don't want to hear about any trouble. I'll be right back. Babysitters, please watch the stream for me. The babysitter's attacking you. I saw the babysitter attack you. Were you being naughty? Is that why the babysitter had to spank you? I told you to behave for the babysitters. All right. Well, got my water at the ready. Now let's get everything else prepared. Fan pointing at me. Can't sleep with bags on my bed. Gotta put away my Funkos. These are now for sale on eBay and on Facebook, on the stream Facebook, because we are trying to raise some money for the stream and our charity, World Vision. I say our charity, I don't own it. It's just a charity that I try to support. So, anyway, if you're interested in some Funko collectibles and helping out for charity and the stream in a way that provides you something in return besides just awesome streaming, you can check that out on our Facebook. Just click the link where it says follow me on Facebook, and my name is the same on Facebook, Karinsky23. Alright, turn the light off. Let's close the blinds. Or the curtains. No, probably the blinds and the curtains. And turn off the dragon rock lamp. Turn off this light. Oh, so scary. So dark and scary. Turn off the TV. I don't think I...
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome back.
I did not turn it off right.
Let's just jump into it. The first thing I want to...
Quiet, Phil DeFranco.
Today is an update to a story.
How do I turn this TV off? Oh my gosh, I guess I can't turn the TV off. It's possessed by Phil DeFranco. He has possessed my TV and will not go away. We're just gonna succumb to our fate. I don't have a remote for the TV right now. It's lost somewhere. I don't know where. And now I'm looking for my iPad, which is also lost somewhere. Well, we may have to do without the iPad then, unless it's on the top somewhere. No. Okay, well, we'll see if we find it or not. Okay. Oh, there's the iPad. Great. Set up my fan. This gets really hot in here. Alright. It's almost time to begin. How's everybody doing tonight? Got our hat ready. Book, and of course our Harry Potter themed music, very important, and water, also very important. Okay, it's going to take a minute for the theme music to load up, so in the meantime we're going to read 3-minute J.R.R. Tolkien. It's another interesting book as well, and it's just about the author J.R.R. Tolkien. Ooh, got sticky on the inside. What happened there? Ooh, there's a spider. Ew. I'm trying to remember what page we were on. Did we put a holder or something? Writing the Hobbit. I think we read about that. Children's author, Wartime in Oxford, the trilogy. We might be here on the trilogy. The Return of Rayner. In the summer of 1947, Rayner Unwin, Stanley's son, who had given his book report as a young boy on The Hobbit, was shown a finished typescript of The Lord of the Rings. Now an undergraduate at Oxford and a friend of Tolkien's, he remained heartily that his father's firm should publish the book. Stanley passed on Rayner's report to Tolkien, who took exception to two comments that would persist throughout the public life of The Lord of the Rings. They were a comparison to Wagner's Nibelungenlied and the assertion that the story was an allegory. Oh, he really hated that. Tolkien really hated when people thought that his story was an allegory, just like C.S. Lewis's Narnia stories. So most people know that The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and the series The Chronicles of Narnia are more of an allegory type stories, but The Lord of the Rings is not an allegory, and he was very adamant about that it was not an allegory. He did not want his fiction to just be minimized to just being one thing as a symbol for another thing. He really did not like that. He hated it, actually, and this book agrees. He hated both suggestions until his dying day, retaining a particular dislike for literary allegory of all kinds, which is really funny considering one of his best friends was C.S. Lewis, who had one of the most famous children's allegories. So funny. Okay. Interwoven stories. In the autumn of 1949, after many months of niggling over every sentence, never heard that term, niggling. I guess it's like nitpicking? Let's use that word. Many months of nitpicking over every sentence of the huge manuscript, Tolkien painstakingly typed up his book and posted a copy to C.S. Lewis. Lewis's response beamed with enthusiasm for the substantial splendor of the work. He wrote, "It is almost unequaled in its whole range of narrative art known to me." A book, 12 years in the making, was now complete, but the journey to print would be a long and difficult one. One problem lay in Tolkien's belief that The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion were completely interdependent texts, and that the new book, yet to be seen by Stanley Unwin, could not possibly be published without the older one, which Unwin had already rejected many years before. Hold on a moment, my phone is giving me a low battery thing, and I want to see why. Phone, you should be charging. You're plugged in. What are you complaining about? Let's try this. I don't know. It's not showing any indication of charging, but also I'm kind of in the app, so I wouldn't really know. I'm sure it's plugged in. Okay, well, maybe it's just charging slower than it's dying. Hopefully we don't die before our stream can end. If it does die suddenly, I'll try to get back on, but please take my apologies in advance. Okay. Alright, so 3 stories, but 1 book. After much wrangling and even flirtation with another publisher, Tolkien agreed to relent on his attentions for the Silmarillion. Eventually it fell to Rayner Unwin, now working at his father's firm, to oversee the publication of The Lord of the Rings. Due to the unusual nature of the book, the high cost of paper in post-war Britain, and the sheer size of the manuscript, Tolkien reluctantly agreed to have the book released in 3 volumes. He gave subtitles to each one, despite the book being one continuous narrative rather than a trilogy. On July 29, 1954, 16 years after the publication of The Hobbit, the world was presented with the Fellowship of the Ring. It's kind of interesting to know Tolkien did not want to publish 3 separate books. He just had to. Decisions have to be made sometimes for you because of what companies are willing to market. Very interesting. Okay, the 3-second quest. The journey to publication for The Lord of the Rings was a fittingly long and difficult adventure. Haha, just like Frodo's adventure was long and difficult. But the book was eventually delivered with love and care by George Allen and Unwin in 1954. And a quote by Tolkien himself, "The Lord of the Rings is written in my blood life, such as that is, thick or thin, and I can no other." So does that mean, I guess that means that he can write no other after that? And it's something very dear to him. And here's a picture of Tolkien in his study. So I think the most interesting things we learned tonight was that Tolkien wanted to publish Lord of the Rings with the book The Silmarillion, and he considers them to be really interdependent. So if you liked the Lord of the Rings, you should also try the Silmarillion, because Tolkien himself considers them to be so important to each other. And another thing we learned was how much Tolkien hated his story being called an allegory. It's not an allegory in his mind. It's, yes, it has some symbolism and connections to real life and his real life, but there's not just one symbol. Sauron is not just a symbol for the devil or a symbol for Hitler or whatever you might think is a symbol for. It could stand for those things, but it's not just one for one. He did not want his work narrowed down or minimized to be in an allegory. So I thought that was very interesting about Tolkien. Okay, 3-minute Tolkien. Here's your 3-minute Tolkien for the day. We've got our iPad ready, so we're going to pull up our Harry Potter soundtrack. Let's get our book out. Tonight we may only have time for one chapter because I have to wake up a little bit early tomorrow. I'm going to get my hair done. You guys see my hair right now? It's like this fading bluish, greenish, blondish color that can't be determined. Hello, Dark Lord of the Destruction, welcome. Anyway, so I'm getting my hair colored. It's going to be a surprise, the colors that it is. It's going to be more than one color. And it's a surprise for you, so you'll have to see tomorrow what color it ends up being, what style and all that. So that said, I have to wake up a little bit earlier to do that, so I probably only have time for one chapter. But this chapter tonight is a great chapter. It is called Halloween. Again, please let me know the sound of the music. If it gets too loud at any point and you can't hear the stream, then I will adjust it. Okay. Here we go. I should just have this on my shoulder or something since it's called Halloween. See how long it can stay there before it falls off. Okay. Chapter 10, Halloween. Halloween must be the most fun holiday in Wizarding World. Malfoy couldn't believe his eyes when he saw that Harry and Ron were still at Hogwarts the next day. Looking tired but perfectly cheerful. Now, if you remember from last night's chapter 9, Malfoy had challenged Harry and Ron to a duel, and instead of showing for the duel, he actually just told on them and had Filch try to come after them, but they were able to escape through the third door corridor. Unluckily for them though, the third door corridor was full of a 3-headed dog beast monster that nearly attacked them, but they did escape with a little help from their friends. So, lesson learned, Malfoy is a huge wimp and is never to be trusted with anything, not even trying to be a good fighter and protect himself in a courageous way. He's definitely a coward. Alright, anyway. Indeed, the next morning, Harry and Ron thought that meeting a 3-headed dog had been an excellent adventure, and they were quite keen to have one another. Oh, quite keen to have another one. Ooh, so they have an adventurous mind. In the meantime, Harry filled Ron in about the package that seemed to have been moved from Gringotts to Hogwarts, and they spent a lot of time wondering what could possibly need such heavy protection. "It's either really valuable or really dangerous," said Ron. "Please excuse me. Now that I have my fan on, it's getting chilly enough for me to wear my robe." I do prefer to wear my robe. It looks better with my hat. see if this guy will stay on now that I'm wearing this silky robe. He might not like it. Okay. Where were we? It's either really valuable or really dangerous, said Ron. Or both, said Harry. But as they all knew for sure about the mysterious object that was about 2 inches long, they didn't have much chance of guessing what it was without further clues. Neither Neville or Hermione showed the slightest interest in what lay underneath the dog and the trapdoor. All Neville cared about was never going near the dog again. Hermione was now refusing to speak to Harry and Ron, but she was such a bossy know-it-all that they saw this as an added bonus. All they really wanted was a way of getting back at Malfoy, and to their great delight, just such a thing arrived with the post about a week later. As the owls flooded into the great hall as usual, everyone's attention was caught at once by a long, thin package carried by 6 large screech owls. Harry was just as interested as everyone else to see what was in this large parcel, and was amazed when the owls soared down and dropped it right in front of them, knocking his bacon to the floor. They had hardly fluttered out of the way when another owl dropped a letter on top of the parcel. Harry ripped open the letter first, which was lucky, because it said, "Do not open the parcel at the table. It contains your new Nimbus 2000, but I don't want everybody knowing you've got a broomstick or they all want one. Oliver Wood will meet you tonight on the Quidditch pitch at 7 o'clock for your first training session. Professor M. McGonagall." Harry had difficulty hiding his glee as he handed the note to Ron to read. "A Nimbus 2000! Ron said enviously. "I've never even touched one." They left the hall quickly, wanting to unwrap the broomstick in private before the first lesson, but halfway across the entrance hall they found the way upstairs barred by Crabbe and Goyle. Malfoy seized the package from Harry and felt it. "That's a broomstick," he said, throwing it back at Harry with a mixture of jealousy and spite on his face. "You'll be in for it this time, Potter. First years aren't allowed them." Ron couldn't resist. "It's not any old broomstick," he said. "It's a Nimbus 2000. "What did you say you've got at home, Malfoy? A Comet 260? Ron grinned at Harry. "Comets look flashy, but they're not in the same league as the Nimbus." "What would you know about it, Weasley? You couldn't afford half the handle," Malfoy snapped back. "I suppose you and your brothers have to save up twig by twig." Before Ron could answer, Professor Flitwick appeared at Malfoy's elbow. "Not arguing, I hope, boys," he squeaked. "Potter's been sent a broomstick, Professor," said Malfoy quickly. Yes, that's right," said Professor Flitwick, beaming at Harry. "Professor McGonagall told me all about the special circumstances, Potter. And what model is it?" "A Nimbus 2000, sir," said Harry, fighting not to laugh at the horror on Malfoy's face. "And it's really thanks to Malfoy here that I got it," he added. Harry and Ron headed upstairs, smothering their laughter at Malfoy's obvious rage and confusion. "Well, it's true," Harry chortled as they reached the top of the marble staircase. "If you hadn't stolen Neville's Remembrall, I wouldn't be in the team." "So I suppose you think there's a reward for breaking the rules?" came an angry voice just behind them. It's kind of true, though. Harry does get rewarded a lot for breaking the rules. Hermione was stomping up the stairs, looking disapprovingly at the package in Harry's hand. "I thought you weren't speaking to us," said Harry. "Yes, don't stop now," said Ron. "It's doing us so much good." Hermione marched away with her nose in the air. Harry had a lot of trouble keeping his mind on the lessons that day. It kept wandering up into the dormitory where his new broomstick was lying under his bed, or straying off to the Quidditch pitch where he'd be learning to play that night. He bolted to his dinner that evening without noticing what he was eating, and then rushed upstairs with Ron to unwrap the Nimbus 2000 at last. Told you guys this is a good chapter. So far, it's so exciting. Wow, Ron sighed as the broomstick rolled onto Harry's bedspread. Even Harry, who knew nothing about the different brooms, thought it looked wonderful, sleek and shiny, with a mahogany handle. It had a long tail of neat, straight twigs, and Nimbus 2000 written in gold near the top. As 7 o'clock drew nearer, Harry left the castle and set off towards the Quidditch pitch in the dusk. He'd never been inside the stadium before. Hundreds of seats were raised in stands around the pitch, so that the spectators were high enough to see what was going on. At either end of the pitch were 3 golden poles with hoops in the end. They reminded Harry of the little plastic sticks Muggle children blew bubbles through, except that they were 50 feet high. And here's a picture of the Quidditch field. Beautiful, isn't it? Too eager to fly again to wait for Wood, Harry mounted his broomstick and kicked off from the ground. What a feeling! He swooped in and out of the goalposts and then sped up and down the pitch. The Nimbus 2000 turned wherever he wanted at his lightest touch. "Hey, Potter, come down!" Oliver Wood had arrived. He was carrying a large wooden crate under his arm. Harry landed next to him. "Very nice," said Wood, his eyes glinting. "I see what McGonagall meant. You really are natural. I'm just going to teach you the rules this evening, and you'll be joining the team practice 3 times a week." He opened the crate. Inside were 4 different sized balls. "Right," said Wood. "Now, Quidditch is easy enough to understand, even if it's not too easy to play. There's 7 players on each side. 3 of them are called chasers." "3 chasers," Harry repeated, as Wood took out a bright red ball about the size of a football. "This ball's called a quaffle," said Wood. "The chasers throw the quaffle to each other and try to get it through one of the hoops to score a goal. 10 points every time the quaffle goes through one of the hoops. Follow me?" "The chasers throw the quaffle and put it through the hoops to score," Harry recited. "So that's sort of like basketball on broomsticks with 6 hoops, isn't it?" "What's basketball?" said Wood curiously. Never mind," said Harry quickly. "Now, there's another player on each side who's called the keeper. I'm keeper for Gryffindor. I have to fly around our hoops and stop the other team from scoring. 3 chasers, 1 keeper." Harry was determined to remember it all. "And they play with the quaffle, okay? Got that? So what are they for?" He pointed at the 3 balls left inside the box. "I'll show you now," said Wood. "Take this." He handed Harry a small club, a bit like a rounder's bat. "I'm going to show you what the bludgers do," Wood said. "These 2 are the bludgers." He showed Harry 2 identical balls, jet black and slightly smaller than the red quaffle. Harry noticed that they seemed to be straining to escape the straps holding them inside the box. "Stand back," Wood warned Harry. He bent down and freed one of the bludgers. At once, the black ball rose high into the air, then pelted straight at Harry's face. Harry swung at it with the bat to stop it breaking his nose and sent it zigzagging away into the air. It zoomed around their heads and then shot at Wood, who dived on top of it and managed to pin it to the ground. "See?" Wood panted, forcing the struggling bludger back into the crate and strapping it down safely. "The bludgers rocket around trying to knock players off their brooms. That's why you have to have 2 beaters on each team. The Weasley twins are ours. It's their job to protect the side from the bludgers and try to knock them out towards the other team. So you think you got all that?" 3 chasers try and score with the quaffle. The keeper guards the goalposts. The beaters keep the bludgers away from their team. Harry reeled off. "Very good," said Wood. Have the bludgers ever killed anyone?" Harry asked, hoping he sounded offhand. "Never at Hogwarts. We had a couple of broken jaws, but nothing worse than that. Now the last member of the team is a seeker. That's you. And you don't have to worry about the quaffle or the bludgers." "Unless they crack my head open." Don't worry, the Weasleys are more than a match for the Bludgers. I mean, they're like a pair of human bludgers themselves. Wood reached into the crate and took out the fourth and last ball. Compared with the Quaffle and the Bludgers, it was tiny, about the size of a large walnut. It was bright gold and had little fluttering silver wings. "This," said Wood, "is a golden snitch, and it's the most important ball of the lot. It's very hard to catch, because it's so fast and difficult to see. It's a seeker's job to catch it. You've got to weave in and out of the chasers, beaters, bludgers, and Quaffle to get it before the other team's seeker. Because whichever seeker catches the snitch wins the game and an extra 150 points. So they nearly always win." Oh, wins his team. Sorry, an extra 150 points. So they nearly always win. That's why seekers get fouled so much. A game of Quidditch only ends when the snitch is caught. So it can go on for ages. I think the record is 3 months. They had to keep bringing on substitutes so the players could get some sleep. That's crazy. Well, that's it. Any questions? Harry shook his head. He understood what he had to do all right. It was doing it that was going to be the problem. "We won't practice with the snitch net yet," said Wood, carefully shutting it back inside the crate. "It's too dark. We might lose it. Let's try out with a few of these." He pulled out a bag of ordinary golf balls out of his pocket. And a few minutes later, he and Harry were up in the air, Wood throwing the golf balls as hard as he could in every direction for Harry to catch. Harry didn't miss a single one. And Wood was delighted. After half an hour, night had really fallen and they couldn't carry on. "This Quidditch Cup will have our name on it this year," said Wood happily, as they trudged back to the castle. "I wouldn't be surprised if you turned out better than Charlie Weasley. And he could have played for England if he hadn't gone off chasing dragons." Perhaps it was because he was so busy now, what with Quidditch practice, 3 evenings. Did I skip a page? No, I didn't. Okay. A week on top of all his homework, but Harry could hardly believe it when he realized that he'd already been at Hogwarts 2 months. The castle felt more like home than Privet Drive had ever. His lessons, too, were becoming more and more interesting now that they had mastered the basics. On Halloween morning, they woke up to the delicious smell of baking pumpkin wafting through the corridors. Even better, Professor Flitwick announced in charms that he thought they were ready to start making objects fly, something they'd all been dying to try since they'd seen him make Neville's toad zoom around the classroom. Professor Flitwick put the class into pairs to practice. Harry's partner was Seamus Finnegan, which was a relief, because Neville had been trying to catch his eye. Ron, however, was to be working with Hermione Granger. It was hard to tell whether Ron or Hermione was angrier about this. She hadn't spoke to either of them since the day Harry's broomstick had arrived. Now don't forget that nice wrist movement we've been practicing," squeaked Professor Flitwick, perched on his pile of books as usual. "Swish and flick. Remember, swish and flick. And saying the magic words properly is very important too. Never forget Wizard Barufio, who said S instead of F, and bound himself on the floor with a buffalo on its chest." How does that work? So he's supposed to say... What was he supposed to say? F's instead of F? Did he want a buffalo? Or he wanted a slower? No, wait, because he said that. That rhyme doesn't make sense. Anyway, whatever. It's probably just a silly thing. It was very difficult. Harry and Seamus swished and flicked, but the feather they were supposed to be sending skywards just lay on the desktop. Seamus got so impatient that he prodded it with his wand and set fire to it. Harry had to put it out with his hat. Ron, at the next table, wasn't having much more luck. "Wingardium Leviosa!" he shouted, waving his long arms like a windmill. "You're saying it wrong," Harry heard Hermione snap. "It's Wingardium Leviosa. Make the gar nice and long." You do it then if you're so clever, Ron snarled. Hermione rolled up the sleeves of a gown, flicked her wand, and said, Wingardium Leviosa. Their feather rose off the desk and hovered about 4 feet above their heads. Oh, well done, cried Professor Flitwick, clapping. Everyone see here, Miss Granger's done it! Ron was in a very bad temper by the end of class. It's no wonder no one can stand her, he said to Harry as they pushed their way into the crowded corridor. She's a nightmare, honestly. Someone knocked into Harry as they hurried past him. It was Hermione. Harry caught a glimpse of her face and was startled to see she was in tears. I think she heard you. So, said Ron, but he looked a bit uncomfortable. She must have noticed she's got no friends. Hermione didn't turn up for the next class and wasn't seen all afternoon. On the way down to the Great Hall for Halloween feast, Harry and Ron overheard Parvati Patil telling her friend Lavender that Hermione was crying in the girls' toilet and wanted to be left alone. Ron looked still more awkward at this, but a moment later they had entered the Great Hall where the Halloween decorations put Hermione out of their minds. It was so sad. Halloween decorations. Maybe it can sit on my hat. So sad. 1,000 live bats fluttered from the walls and the ceiling, while 1,000 more swooped over the tables in low black clouds, making the candles in the pumpkin stutter. The feast appeared suddenly on the golden plates as it had at the start of term banquet. Harry was just helping himself to a jacket potato when Professor Quirrell came sprinting into the hall, his turban askew and terror on his face. Everyone stared as he reached Professor Dumbledore's chair, slumped against the table, and gasped, Troll in the dungeons! I thought you ought to know. He then sank to the floor in a dead faint. There was an uproar. It took several purple firecrackers exploding from the end of Professor Dumbledore's wand to bring silence. Prefects, he rumbled, lead your houses back to the dormitories immediately. Percy was in his element. Follow me. Stick together, first years. No need to fear Troll if you follow my orders. Stay close behind me now. Make way, first years coming through. Excuse me, I'm a prefect. How could a troll get in? Harry asked as they climbed the stairs. Don't ask me. They're supposed to be really stupid, said Ron. Maybe Peeves let it in for a Halloween joke. They passed different groups of people hurrying in different directions. As they jostled their way through a crowd of confused Hufflepuffs, Harry suddenly grabbed Ron's arm. I've just thought. Hermione. What about her? She doesn't know about the troll. Ron bit his lip. Oh, all right, he snapped. But Percy better not see us. Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs. Going the other way, slipped down a deserted side corridor and hurried off towards the girls' toilets. They had just turned the corner when they heard quick footsteps behind them. Percy! Hissed Ron, pulling Harry behind a large stone griffin. Peering around it, however, they saw not Percy, but Snape. He crossed the corridor and disappeared from view. What's he doing? Harry whispered. Why isn't he down in the dungeons with the rest of the teachers? Search me. Quietly as possible, they crept along the next corridor after Snape's fading footsteps. He's heading to the 3rd floor, Harry said, but Ron held up his hand. Can you smell something? Harry sniffed, and a foul stench reached his nostrils, a mixture of old socks and a kind of public toilet no one seems to clean. And then they heard it, a low grunting and the shuffling footfalls of gigantic feet. Ron pointed at the end of the passage to the left. Something huge was moving towards them. They shrank into the shadows and watched as it emerged in a patch of moonlight. It was a horrible sight, 12 feet tall. Its skin was a dull granite grey, its great lumpy body like a boulder with its small head perched on top like a coconut. It had short legs, thick as tree trunks, with flat, horny feet. The smell coming from it was incredible. It was holding a huge wooden club, which dragged along the floor because its arms were so long. The troll stopped next to a doorway and peered inside. It waggled its long ears, making up its tiny mind, then slouched slowly into the room. "The key's in the lock," Harry muttered. "We could lock in." And here's the troll. "Good idea," said Ron nervously. They edged toward the open door, mouths dry, praying the troll wasn't about to come out of it. With one great leap, Harry managed to grab the key, slam the door, and lock it. Yes! Flushed with their victory, they started to run back up the passage. But as they reached the corner, they heard something that made their hearts stop. A high, petrified scream, and it was coming from the chamber they just locked up. "Oh no," said Ron, pale as the bloody Baron. "It's the girls' toilets!" Harry gasped. "Hermione!" they said together. It was the last thing they wanted to do, but what choice did they have? Wheeling around, they sprinted back to the door and turned the key, fumbling in their panic. Harry pulled the door open. They ran inside. Hermione Granger was shrinking against the wall opposite, looking as if she was about to faint. The troll was advancing on her, knocking the sinks off the wall as it went. "Confuse it," Harry said desperately to Ron, and seizing a tap, he threw it as hard as he could against the wall. The troll stopped a few feet from Hermione. It lumbered around, blinking stupidly to see what had made the noise. Its mean little eyes saw Harry. It hesitated, then made for him instead of lifting its club as it went. "Oi, pea-brain!" yelled Ron from the other side of the chamber, and he threw a metal pipe at it. The troll didn't even seem to notice the pipe hitting its shoulder, but it heard the yell and paused again, turned its ugly snout towards Ron instead, giving Harry time to run around it. "Come on, run, run!" Harry yelled at Hermione, trying to pull her towards the door, but she couldn't move. She was still flat against the wall, her mouth open with terror. The shouting and the echoes seemed to be driving the troll berserk. It roared again and started towards Ron, who was nearest and had no way to escape. Harry then did something that was both very brave and very stupid. He took a great running jump and managed to fasten his arms around the troll's neck from behind. The troll couldn't feel Harry hanging there, but even a troll would notice if you stick a long bit of wood up its nose, and Harry's wand had still been in his hand when he jumped. It had gone straight up one of the troll's nostrils. Howling with pain, the troll twisted and flailed its club, with Harry clinging on for dear life. Any second, the troll was going to grip him off or catch him in a terrible blow with the club. Hermione had sunk to the floor in fright. Ron pulled out his own wand. Not knowing what he was going to do, he heard himself cry the first spell that came into his head. "Wingardium Leviosa!" The club flew suddenly out of the troll's hand, rose high up into the air, turned over slowly, and dropped with a sickening crack onto its owner's head. The troll swayed on the spot and then fell flat on its face with a thud that made the whole room tremble. Not just good luck, Ron. Harry got to his feet. He was shaking and out of breath. Ron was standing there with his wand raised, staring at what he had done. It was Hermione who spoke first. "Is it dead?" "I don't think so," said Harry. "I think it's just been knocked out." He bent down and pulled his wand out of the troll's nose. It was covered in what looked like lumpy grey goo. "Ugh, troll bogies!" He wiped it on the troll's trousers. A sudden slamming and loud footsteps made the three of them look up. Let me show you the picture of the troll and Harry. Okay. They hadn't realized what a racket they had been making, but of course someone downstairs must have heard the crashes of the troll's roars. A moment later, Professor McGonagall had come bursting into the room, closely followed by Snape, with Quirrell bringing up the rear. Quirrell took one look at the troll, let out a faint whimper, and sat quickly down on a toilet, clutching his heart. Snape bent over the troll. Professor McGonagall was looking at Ron and Harry. Harry had never seen her look so angry. Her lips were white. Hopes of winning 50 points for Gryffindor faded quickly from Harry's mind. "What on earth were you thinking of?" said Professor McGonagall, with cold fury in her voice. Harry looked at Ron, who was still standing with his wand in the air. "You're lucky you weren't killed! Why aren't you in your dormitory?" Snape gave Harry a swift, piercing look. Harry looked at the floor. He wished Ron would put his wand down. Then a small voice came out of the shadows. "Please, Professor McGonagall, they were looking for me." "Miss Granger?" Hermione had managed to get to her feet at last. I went looking for the troll because I thought I could deal with it on my own, because I've read all about them." Ron dropped his wand. Hermione Granger telling a downright lie to a teacher? "If they hadn't found me, I'd be dead now." Harry stuck his wand up its nose, and Ron knocked it out with his own club. "They didn't have to come and fetch anyone. It was about to finish me off when they arrived." Harry and Ron tried to look as though this story wasn't new to them. "Well, in that case," said Professor McGonagall, staring at the three of them, "Miss Granger, you foolish girl, how could you think of tackling a mountain troll on your own?" Hermione hung her head. Harry was speechless. Hermione was the last person to do anything against the rules, and here she was pretending she had to get them out of trouble. It was as if Snape had started handing out sweets. "Miss Granger, 5 points will be taken from Gryffindor for this," said Professor McGonagall. "I'm very disappointed in you. If you're not hurt at all, you better get off to Gryffindor Tower. Students are finishing a feast in their houses." Hermione left. Professor McGonagall turned to Harry and Ron. "Well, I still say you were lucky, but not many first years could have taken on a full-grown mountain troll. You each win Gryffindor 5 points. Professor Dumbledore will be informed of this. You may go." They hurried out of the chamber and didn't speak at all until they had climbed 2 floors up. It was a relief to be away from the smell of the troll, quite apart from anything else. "We should have gotten more than 10 points, Ron grumbled. 5, you mean, once she's taken off Hermione's." "Good of her to get us out of trouble like that," Ron admitted. "Mind you, did save her." "She might not have needed saving if we hadn't locked the thing in with her," Harry reminded him. They had reached the portrait of the fat lady. "Pig snout," they said, and entered. The common room was packed and noisy. Everyone was eating the food that had been sent up. Hermione, however, stood alone by the door, waiting for them. There was a very embarrassed pause. Then none of them, looking at each other, they all said, "Thanks," and hurried off to get plates. But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became the friend. There are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them. That's the end of chapter 10. You're right, it is such a long time for Harry and Hermione and Ron. They did dislike each other in the beginning. This is 148 pages so far of the book, and that's how long it took Harry, Ron, and Hermione to all be friends. It happens so fast in the film, but we're actually more than halfway through the book, and that's when they start liking Hermione. Over halfway through the book, that's when they first become friends. It took quite a long time. There's actually not much left of the book. A lot of the first book is talking all about how wonderful the Wizarding World is and all the excitement and Quidditch and getting us into the world and developing the characters. And only a little bit of it, just this many pages, is on the whole climax and all of the other things that happen that I won't spoil in case someone hasn't read it. But really, such a good book, so interesting, and I'm so excited that now Ron, Hermione, and Harry are all friends. We finally got to this part. What a great chapter this was. Our first practice for Quidditch. Ron and Harry got back at Malfoy, and they saved Hermione and became a friend. A really, really good chapter. And now I'm going to show you this really neat little illustration in the book. So this is Newt Schmander's Guide to Trolls. So this is what Hermione might have read about them. Warning! Trolls are bad-tempered, ill-mannered, unpleasant creatures with little intelligence and no personality. They have a fondness for raw flesh and will gladly eat humans. A troll brain, very tiny. Look how tiny it is for that large head. Inside a troll's mind, food, nose-picking, kittens, violence. Keep thinking it's Tuesday. Forest trolls. So there's a forest troll. And then this is what they face, the mountain troll. Troglodytarum alpinum. Trolls are characterized by their large size and prodigious strength. They possess thick skin, often covered in horny growths or cobbles, which litter the floor of troll caves. Gross. Height 12 feet. And here's the troll clegg and the troll wig. Troll clegg often found hovering above trolls, and the troll wig feed on troll earwax. That's gross. So pretty cool to get a little excerpt here from Newt Scamander, so we can kind of see like this is what Hermione would have been reading about trolls. And after reading that, I can see Hermione definitely would never have gone up against a troll if she could have, you know, decided not to. So her lie was definitely a complete lie. Anyway, so that's it for tonight. Like I said, we have a short stream because I am going to wake up a little bit early and get my hair done, but tomorrow we get to read chapter 11, Quidditch. So it will be all about Quidditch. I'm very excited. Now, if you enjoy these streams, I hope that you will come back again tomorrow to watch us. And now there is not really a exact time that I do them. I just do them before I go to bed. So usually I try to go to bed around midnight, but obviously tonight I was staying up late. I was watching some new TV shows with my roommates. So that's why I was up a little bit later. Tomorrow night, though, I do hope I will get to bed more around midnight. So if you don't see me on around midnight, that's probably because I'm staying up late again. So check again at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. I usually will sort the stream no later than 2 a.m. or 2:15 a.m. because at that point I'm ready for bed. And it's all Pacific Standard Time. So if you don't know what that time is, just Google it and you can find it out compared to where you live. So yes, I will be doing the bedtime stream every night until the story's done. Just come at 12, and if I'm not there at 12, check at 1 and 2, because I will be doing it. And check your Twitter, definitely, and make sure you follow if you're not following already so you can get the notifications. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really, really appreciate you guys all being here. I hope you're enjoying the stream, and we'll see you again tomorrow with my new hair. Goodbye, everybody. I love you all.